Moving on to story number 9 this week. Guns, guns, guns. Not one, but 2 new bills passed by House Democrats this week. Another partisan push that got very few Republicans' support. So what is in them? Expanding background checks, banning private transfers, and giving government officials power to indefinitely delay gun sales. The pair of bills head to the 50-50 Senate next, and if the Senate eliminates the filibuster, Kamala Harris will be the deciding vote, who has been pushing progressive gun control for years. And Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has already stated that the Senate will get it done. Listen.
Get the votes, and if we don't, we'll come together as a caucus and figure out how we're going to get this done, because we have to get it done.
So if these bills land on President Biden's desk, Second Amendment advocates are saying that your right to bear arms will never be the same. Here to weigh in, National Spokesperson for Gun Owners of America, Antonia Okafor, cover, and then also with us, former Milwaukee Sheriff and NEWSMAX contributor, Sheriff David Clarke. And of course, Andrew Giuliani is here with us as well. Welcome to everyone.
Thank you.
Sheriff, I'll start with you. This new legislation, it will make it harder for law-abiding citizens to purchase guns. But are law-abiding citizens the reason that crime rates are skyrocketing?
Not at all. Look, when you peel back the layers of this bill, it's a naked attempt by the Democrats to disarm the American people. I take this very personally. There's this thing called the black tradition of arms, where the hallmark of slavery in this country, the black slaves knew this, you could not defend yourself, you could not arm yourself. And it wasn't until after Reconstruction, the 14th Amendment that said the Second Amendment applies to the states, that blacks were finally able to arm themselves for self-defense against lynchings, kidnapping, and mob attacks. And so that's why I take this thing very seriously. My ancestors shed blood, sweat, and tears so that I would be able to share in that Second Amendment. I'm not going to willingly give this back to the federal government. This might be the hill to die on. At least I've made that decision.
So these bills would implement so-called universal background checks. But how can it be universal when criminals getting guns off the street aren't being checked? And this couldn't be enforced without a federal gun registry, which would put lawful gun owners on the record. And if history has taught us anything, that leads to confiscation. Your reaction, Antonia?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. That is what the history books have shown time and time again. I think most people know about Australia and the fact that it always starts with a national gun registry. And so, unfortunately, this means that we have to fight tooth and nail. Of course, yes, we know that it's already passed the House, it's going to the Senate, and we have to keep Republicans accountable. Look, John Cornyn voted for Merrick Garland for AG. So there's definitely people in the Republican Party who say that they're pro-Second Amendment, but when it comes down to the real votes, are not doing their due diligence. And so this is important that we go and talk to them, talk to our senators. If you're in Texas like me, then that's Cornyn and that's Ted Cruz, and make sure that they vote the right way.
All right. Well, Sheriff, the executive director for the NRA's legislative action said in a statement, amongst some other things, this: if Congress is serious about the safety of law-abiding citizens, it should have passed concealed carry reciprocity so that Americans can safeguard themselves and their families across state lines and throughout our country during these dangerous times. So if you can, break down for our viewers, why is concealed carry reciprocity much more efficient and less invasive than what House Democrats passed in these bills?
Yeah, first of all, shame on the GOP. When President Trump was first elected, he said he would sign legislation creating the concealed carry reciprocity. Problem is that McConnell and at the time Paul Ryan never brought it to the floor for a vote, never got it to his desk. So shame on them. But anyway, in terms of concealed carry reciprocity, it'd be like your driver's license. I can drive in any state in this country with my Wisconsin driver's license. With concealed carry, it's state to state. I may be valid here in Wisconsin, which I am, and maybe a few other states recognize that. Many states do not recognize Wisconsin's concealed carry license. And so I would be carrying against the law. I'd be in violation of the law in some of these states. So it'd be like a marriage license. It would be like a driver's license. recognized by all 50 states. That's how important that was.
And Tony, as you mentioned before, both bills were passed in the House with very narrow margins. Only 8 Republicans backing the first bill and 2 Republicans backing the second bill. Remember, this is a party of national unity. Nonetheless, Nancy Pelosi's message to the American people is that these bills hold bipartisan support. Listen.
This legislation, background checks, closer to 90%. Bipartisan support across the country, receiving the support of gun owners, hunters, and the rest. They've all had to do a background check. Why shouldn't others?
Great question. Antonia, Sheriff, you want to take a stab at that?
I'll take
Yeah,
one.
sure,
Look,
I'll talk. Oh, go ahead.
these background checks, look, that's a red herring, and they know it. Background checks will do very little here. They have not stopped any mass shootings. The Democrats like to bring up the mass shootings. Most of the mass shooters we're talking about, Vegas, San Bernardino, we're talking Fort Hood, we're talking Orlando, we're talking situations where all of those people passed a background check. So that's just a smokescreen to fool the American people.
Antonia, your final word on that.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely correct. It all comes down to, again, who is behind that trigger. Look, in Virginia Tech, the gunman used a .22 rifle or .22 handgun in order to kill all those innocent people. So it doesn't matter the caliber, it doesn't matter the firearm, it matters the person behind that trigger. And that's what Congress should be focused on.
Yeah, one of these bills had what they called the Charleston loophole, and it was actually what the FBI or the people that needed to do his background check, Dylan Roof, and had not done it in time. At the time, that was 3 days, and they've now expanded it to 10. Antonia, thank you so much for joining us. And I hesitated on your last name because last time we spoke, I don't think that you were married yet. So it was Antonia Okafor Cover now.
Congratulations.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Sheriff
Thank
Clarke,
you.
always great to see you as well.
Thank you.